welcome to the WatR podcast, the first episode. I didn't even think of what I was gonna call this podcast, man. I think I'm gonna call it. I've been thinking about calling it the ripple effect because of water and ripples. The ripple effect, it being like spreading, the kind of like metaphor for like spreading good things, and like good things will spread and it will have a ripple effect, and things will snowball and compound. So I was thinking about maybe calling it that. I haven't really decided yet, but I think I'm gonna call it the ripple effect. And yeah, man, welcome guys to the first episode of the podcast. I don't really know what the fuck I'm gonna talk about, but I'm just gonna have a good ass time and get to it. Talk about some stuff that I've been wanting to talk about and whatnot. I kind of like I've been putting this podcast off for such a long fucking time, man. And let me just check. I just gonna check that my mic is, because I'm hearing myself very echoey, and that was kind of annoying. So oh wow. Okay, so I think I gotta just have it on like that. But fuck it. Let's just do that then. But yeah, guys, fuck yeah. I'm so excited that I actually got down to actually do this kind of thing. And it's been bothering me in the back of my mind for a very long time, because I've been wanting to do this podcast for so long. And I finally just decided that it's gonna fucking happen now. And there's been a lot of things like that throughout 2022 that I was like, fuck, I need to really get on with it and need to really step up and take action on this. And there's been a lot of things that I've been wanting to do, but I've been kind of putting off due to maybe fear a little bit. A lot of fear probably running me, and a lot of, different, there's a lot of self-sabotage, I suppose, and a lot of things that I'm kind of rationalizing and thinking that I don't have time for it and stuff like that. But really what I'm just doing is I'm just not doing it. Yeah, it's difficult to step out of that comfort zone of just like not putting yourself out there too much. And that's definitely one of the things that I want to be doing a lot more in 2023, is putting myself out there a lot more on social media, and creating content, and creating videos and all that shit, because I think it's really dope and I think it's really fun, and it's a really good way to get exposure for sure. And also it's just what I gotta do to make to be able to make some sort of living out of this, hopefully. It's gotta be done. I gotta put myself out there. I gotta be able to go out on social medias and do my thing, because this is really what I want to do, man. I just want to spread fun, positive vibes and music and good times all over social media. And I want to how do you say it? I want to just get better at being at the center of attention, I guess, being more in front of the camera, being more out there and expressing myself authentically without, being held back by fear and all of those things. So yeah, 2023 definitely gonna be like the fucking year where I just go hard at these kind of things. And I'm excited, man. I'm so excited. Just dropped my first track of the year as well on the 1st of January. Started the year off on a high note with the track Only Now, which honestly I don't think anyone really knew that I dropped it. And this has been kind of a general theme with my music, because I'm not really that good of a marketer. I've been really shitty at marketing my music, and I've never really been that good at letting people know, I guess. And I also kind of have that, like, it's probably like what you would call the what do you call it, The word for it slipped my mind, but it's like that place where you feel like you don't deserve it. You feel like you're not that person that's supposed to have the things that you're having. But yeah, probably some of that. Like I have really been struggling to consider myself an actual artist. Um, a lot through my whole career, which like the career isn't really a career when you're not. I feel like it's really not a career as long as I'm not actually able to live off of it, you know. And um, so so I wouldn't say career, but it's a hobby though. It's a fucking passion. It's a hobby, but it's something that I really really want to do. So you know, in my head, I consider it a career, and I consider myself an artist. But I've been having a lot of struggles with actually coming to terms with that. I actually want to do this. That I actually want to consider myself an artist, and confronting people and telling people that I am an artist. It's always like taken a lot, because I feel like once you claim that you're an artist, you know, it's kind of like it's weird. It's almost like you're telling people that like, hey, I'm an artist, you know what I mean? Like I'm better than you almost. Like it kind of feels like that a little bit when you say like I'm an artist, you know, because it's like I feel like in society we kind of like put artists on such pedestals of like, oh shit, you're like a rock star or whatever. But today that's not really. It's not really that anymore. You don't really need to be famous or anything to be an artist. Like there's so many artists that are actually making a good living that you haven't really heard of. You know, it's so much more possibilities now with the internet and social media and Patreons and all these things that are making us able to actually make some sort of a sustainable income compared to previously, I suppose, in the 80s or whatever, where you kind of had to get a record deal. You had to, you know, only very few and the very top percent of artists would actually be able to put food on the table, you know. So and you know, as a side effect of that would be like people wouldn't dare to go for it too. But now I feel like it's more like you can just do it on the side of your work. You can just like make some beats on the side, and like you start getting the ball rolling, and suddenly you just like you can quit your job. And I think a lot of people do that. Like a lot of people just, for example, people who make music for, you know, movies. People make music for movie catalogs. They make like, or just they just like release some lo-fi beats, you know, every week or so, or they just put out some beats. People use it. They get some royalties, or they some people do like the licensing. They make just like a shit ton of music, like a catalog, and people can use the music if they buy a license and stuff like that. And there's so many ways now that you can make money on music. So I feel like being an artist isn't really that much different from being a plumber anymore. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I feel like I definitely too have like some sort of like glamour. There's a certain kind of glamour attached to the word, which just makes me kind of like feel like a fraud when I call myself an artist. But yeah, it's weird. But yeah, this is definitely the thing I want to do more of. And fucking 2023, man, we're going hard as fuck, yo. It's going down in 2023. I'm gonna be making so much fucking beats. I'm gonna release a track every single month. That's a goal of mine. And I'm gonna be doing a lot more content and doing the podcast. Like I'm gonna be doing the podcast every fucking week now. That's my goal, to be able to do this every goddamn week. Getting this real authentic connection with my audience and you guys, and just showing myself as I am authentically on the internet. Yeah, just like jamming, doing this shit, and yeah, putting myself out there. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. And yeah, so I don't really know what to talk about today though. I guess that's like one of the things as well too, is like I want to just share who I am, I suppose. And we can actually start with that. I can start by kind of sharing a little bit of me and who I am, because it's like I'm kind of at the point in my life where I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, I'm this year I'm turning 27 years old. I moved to the fucking Lofoten Islands in a small ass town where there's like 3,000 people. Um, there's really good surf up there though, so I can talk about that for a little bit. Like a big part of my life has been surfing ever since I was like 18. Me and my buddy, we started doing a little bit of surfing, and ever since it's just been like such a fun hobby of mine to just go out there and surf some waves. It's just such a refreshing experience, and it just like gives me so much joy and love, and just like it's a nice workout for your body. It just fucking so that's kind of one of the reasons that I moved up here to the Lofoten Islands. By the way, if you don't know where Lofoten Islands is, it's a like little small group of islands in northern Norway. It's above the Arctic Circle. It's like on the same. It's as north as Siberia. It's on the same level as Siberia, but it's not as cold here because we're right next to the ocean. But anyways, a lot of people come here from all over the world to experience like the northern lights. The mountains here are surreal. And if you don't know where Lofoten Islands is or haven't seen anything of it, I urge you to Google it right now. Just go check out the images and stuff. It's so fucking beautiful. But so part of the reason why I moved here is because there are really good waves up here. So I started surfing when I was about 18, right? And actually the first time I ever surfed was actually when I was 16, but I didn't really have anywhere to do it because I didn't live here, but my grandparents are from here. So we used to take like the summer vacations. My dad would bring me and my brother to the Lofoten Islands, where we bought this like, or my dad and my grandpa, they bought this summer house, right? So we went there, and then my dad took me to this place called Unstad Arctic Surf, and actually I work there now. Actually now I'm permitted though in the winter because it's off season, so I'm not really working. So that's why I got a lot of time to do a lot of music production and stuff as well. So that was actually really nice. But now I might actually have to go work again as an electrician because of like you can't just go on permission for months and months. You actually have to go get a job. So I need to go get a job now. I might be working as an electrician. We'll see. Yeah, but my point was, I yeah, my dad took me and my brother up here when we were kids, and we went to Insta Arctic Surf, and I actually tried surfing for the first time. But then we went back to where I'm originally from, which is in the southern Norway, and I didn't really know any place close to there that was possible to surf. Before like 2 years later, my buddy Jacob, he took me out to this place called WatR Islands, and we found like some few waves here and there, but it was like really messy, chaotic, freaking like, because like the waves there doesn't really, it's no like groundswell, it's just like wind generated swell. So we would surf a lot in like really shitty conditions where it's like super onshore, very stormy, very cold, like not very ideal conditions, but it was the only thing we had. So we actually started off surfing in like storms, essentially, in just like shitty ass waves. And me and my buddy, we were kind of like, we like to push the limits a little bit, and we were kind of like hunting for waves pretty hardcore at that time. I think I was about 19 or 20 or something like that. And we just went out. I had a little boat. It's actually my dad's boat, but I got to borrow it, which was very nice of him. So we went out in this little like a rubber boat with a little like engine you turn with your hand on the an outboard 9.9 horsepower engine on this little rib, the tinny, right? And we go out there in the fucking storm. It's like, I don't know how much the winds were at the time. It's probably, like, I don't know, man, like 30 to 40 kilometers an hour winds, I think. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it was like, you wouldn't want to be out in a boat, especially not the boat that size. But we actually brought like a tent and stuff. What's up? We actually brought like a tent and stuff, and we were planning to set camp there. So we went out in this little boat, right? And we were hunting for waves. We set up camp and stuff like that, and then we went out hunting for waves because we knew that there were some waves close to where we were. We were like outside of any like civilization. We were out on some islands, like right in the middle of the fucking ocean. And we go out there. We found this fucking massive wave that's breaking, and we can see it breaking. We both have our surfboard, we have our wetsuits on, and we like approach this wave on the boat, right? And as a fucking amateur I am, I end up like getting the boat straight into the impact zone of this wave, and the wave just like takes the fucking boat and shoves us back, and we were like surfing the wave with the boat. And then I turned around, I tried to get out of there, and I've ended up in kind of like a channel, so I have to go out the same way that the wave is breaking, right? So I go out, and then I kind of have to like, I have to drive out and like hit the gas really to get out of there, and the wave is breaking, so the wave is going like diagonally as I am riding up the face of it with my boat. And my buddy Jacob, he falls in the freaking water. He jumps out of the boat because he thought it was just too much for him. He just jumped out. He didn't want to be in the boat, which I totally understand. So he just jumped out in the water. I just jump with the fucking boat over this wave, get out of there, and then I'm looking for my buddy Jacob, right? I gotta go get him now because like it's like stormy weather. It's like pouring down rain. It's windy as fuck. I almost can't see him because it's like small little waves breaking everywhere, right? And so I go looking for him, and I end up in the impact zone again. And this time I'm sideways, and the wave just come crashing over the entire boat, and I'm like surfing the wave again. And I think something happened when the water came all over the engine and stuff. Like it just like killed the engine, and then I couldn't start up the engine, so I was just like, revving the engine, trying to get it going for dear life, and it just started after I think Jacob was like swimming towards the boat, and he got in the boat. We got the boat started. We got the fuck out of there, and we got his board also. We found his board floating somewhere. We got the fuck out of there, and once we get in the boat and drive back towards camp, right, it just started like thunder strike. Like it started thundering and like lightning across the sky and shit like that, and like being in the ocean when it's like when there's a lightning strike, it's really fucking gnarly, right? So we were just we were pretty lucky with the timing there. We were back in the boat right as it started thundering, and we were like, holy shit. It felt like we were on like a fucking suicide mission, it was gnarly. At the time, we were pretty young too, and it was like, fuck, man, it was scary. So, yeah, that was my introduction to surfing, pretty much. That's where I started. I think actually the first time I went surfing after the Lofoten experience, I just bought like a shortboard, like a secondhand shortboard. And I didn't have any fins. It didn't come with fins, and I'm not sure if I had any wax on it or anything. So I think actually first time I tried surfing was in like on a stormy day like that, without any fins, without any wax, and it was just like a shit show. But I've been doing a lot of wakeboarding, so I thought I could handle it without fins, but it's like it's not the same thing at all. But so yeah, that was my that was my introduction to surfing, which yeah, it's a hardcore way to start it, and I'm actually really thankful that was the way I started and not like in a super chill, safe environment, because I think that kind of like influenced the way I surf. I think I try to I try to push the limits a lot when surfing. I don't really want to just stay in the safe longboard waves. I really want to like go for the big ones and get barreled and stuff like that. And yeah, I think like I was halfway in a barrel for the first time in 2022 at Unstad, and but fuck man, it's so scary, man. Those waves when they get big out there, god damn man. I really want to get barreled, but fuck, every time like when I see one of those fucking giant waves coming towards me, and they're not even that big. When you look at Hawaii, it's like nothing, but still when I'm out there, it's just like it comes over you, you're in the water, you feel so small, man. But yeah, I think I was like in a barrel, but I didn't make it out of it. So that's definitely a goal for 2023, is to get barrel. Like I would fucking love that. Yeah. I guess kind of like a part of why I wanted to get into the podcasting stuff as well is because I want to get better at talking. I feel like that's kind of been a weak point about me in my entire life, is being express myself through words. And that's something that I have been working on consistently these last few years, except for maybe like actually the this year has been like not too much of that, or like 2022 hasn't been too much of working on that. But that's definitely one aspect of my life that I would really like to improve a lot on, because I'm not really like the talker kind of person, you know. I'm kind of like the quiet kid, or like actually in like school and stuff, I would usually be the class clown. I would just like say some random stupid stuff, but I wouldn't be the guy that would go out and be super social and super like connecting with everyone and just like being the center of attention and keeping conversations going forever and stuff like that. I would kind of just be like the quirky kid that would like just think of something super random, and yeah, I would say a lot of random shit. But yeah, it's weird when you're like hosting a podcast though, because you I kind of feel like I have to talk. I kind of have to keep the conversation going all the time, and it's like coming up with topics and stuff like that is not my strongest side. So I think that's going to be really good for me with this podcast, to just like being able to come up with topics, just like get into the habit of just like bringing up new subjects, new topics, just let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, you know, and getting really like getting on the top of my speaking, because yeah, that's definitely one of my weaker points. I really like to just be by myself, you know, in the studio, just like working on some music and doing my thing and getting really into the zone and, you know, stuff like that. And I definitely I have had moments where I'm super into the zone talking as well, where I'm like talking about something I'm really passionate about, for example, like music or, you know, surfing, BMX. I used to ride BMX a lot. That was one of the things I was doing a lot. So, well, I could tell a little bit of story about me, I guess. So, I was born. I'm Norwegian. I was born in southern Norway, in a place called Halden, and um, I had a pretty nice childhood. You know, I have a younger brother, and our parents split up when I was about 6 years old. He's about 4 years younger than me, So he was like 2 or something at the time. I don't think he remembers shit. He don't even remember our parents being together, which is kind of like sad when I think about it. Because I remember at that time when I was that young, dude, like I just like the only thing my mind was focused on that I remember at that time when I was 6, that was like getting my parents back together. That was like the first like real traumatizing event in my life, was my parents breaking up. And I remember we actually had like a fucking we had flying ant invasion in our basement. And I remember that shit pretty vividly because it was so disgusting. It was like fucking full of flying ants, just like in the up over the window, in the edge where the wall meets the ceiling. It was just full of them, like thick with these flying ants. And I remember my dad was like working on trying to get that fixed. He was like doing the poison stuff, and I don't remember what went down there, but if he got it fixed or not. But I remember that really vividly. But yeah, so I had a pretty normal childhood. I was, I was the class clown kind of type. I was always like saying quirky, random shit in school. I was kind of like my teachers thought I had ADHD, but I didn't. We went to like the psychologist and stuff and tried to figure out what was wrong with me. But I would always this kind of I would always let out big farts in class, like straight in the middle of class, maybe in like third grade when I was like, 7, 8, 9 years old. I was just like that. I was just let it rip, this huge farts, just like fucking send it fully, and the whole class would hear it. And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And so I kind of don't blame the teachers for thinking I had ADHD or something. But I had a lot of energy, and I still do have a lot of energy. Um, and it's been actually in my later life. I think that's been kind of more bothersome than anything, because I feel like I just like all of this energy, it needs to go somewhere, and that's kind of where the creativity thing kind of comes in, because I need to like do something. And recently I haven't been exercising too much. I haven't been surfing because I got a sinus infection, stuff like that. So I really feel it on the days where I'm not exercising. I'm like, fucking, there's so much energy in the system that needs to go out, and that's been leading to a lot of like anxiety and stuff like that too. The energy needs to fucking go somewhere, and if it's not going out creativity wise or energetically, it kind of sometimes turns into anxiety about the future and stuff like that. um yeah, so yeah. And also, like, I switched schools. I remember I switched schools in like third grade. At third grade I started a new school, and that was when I was starting to fart in class and stuff. That was kind of weird. I had a weird year there. But the thing about moving schools is that you get bullied when you go to a new school as a new student. The kids, it's just like, kids are fucking ruthless with new kids, especially at that age. And so I was bullied a lot. I remember in like third, fourth, fifth grade. Fortunately, I had a strong mind, I had a strong will, and I had like, I could handle it, and I just got through that shit, got through those years, even though I do remember it, like, it was tough sometimes. It was fucking tough, but I feel like I always had that desire, it's a weird kind of desire that I had whilst being a little youngster back at the school, which was to like, I always wanted to be one of the popular kids, and it was this like really innate desire to be like on the top and be like one of the cool kids, be someone that someone looked up to. And so I remember at towards the end of the what do you call it in Norwegian? We just call it child school. Is it elementary? I'm not sure, man. But from first to seventh grade, I remember at the end of that school, like in the 6th or 7th grade, like things were starting to get a lot better. I was making friends, and I was pretty much just being friends with everyone, having a good ass time in life. Life was just fucking smiling, and yeah, I had a really good like childhood, I think. Um, which one interesting thing happened though during my childhood. I remember in children's school, I was like, I me and my cousin one day we set fire to my mom and stepdad's house. We just we burned down the house. Um, Me and my cousin, we were kind of like we were kind of pyromaniacs at the time. We loved to just set fire to things, not like big things like houses and stuff. We loved to just set fire to like pieces of grass or just like silly shit like that. Just being kids. We found like some fireworks, I think, in the garage of my mom and stepdad's house. And we started to try and set fire to these things, but they were like wet or something, so they didn't really catch proper fire. And we was like, fuck, this is boring. And so we found some gasoline, and we took like the gasoline tanks and we poured it out on the asphalt outside of the house, right? Just outside of the garage. We had like in on the drive into the garage, we put like a little bit of gasoline on the ground and we lit it up. It was like, whoa, shit, that was cool, right? We were like, just a couple young pyromaniacs, making some fires and thinking it was fucking awesome. And then out of nowhere, my cousin, or actually the gasoline tank, like the jerry can itself, caught fire. You could see like the fire coming straight out of where the lid is supposed to be. It was open. It was just straight on fire because it was probably like dripping some fire from the can, and it caught fire, and suddenly the whole thing was fucking on fire. And so my cousin, out of just like sheer reaction, he picks up this jerry can and he throws it into the garage door. So the whole thing fucking goes up in flames in a matter of seconds. Like, it was just fully on fire within seconds. And the thing was, we were running inside the house trying to get buckets of water because we didn't have like a water hose nearby, so we had to go run inside the house, get buckets of water. But by the time we had gotten out of the house with the water, it was already triple the size, and it was like it wasn't, I didn't go 2 rounds to get buckets of water. It was fucked. It was mission impossible. And so in the garage, right, there was even more gasoline stacked in there. And there was also some scuba gear because my parents and my mom and my stepdad at the time were scuba instructors, so they even had a bus parked next to this garage. So we were actually doing the pyromaniac stuff right next to the bus and the garage, and the bus was also filled with scuba gear, and the bus caught fire. It caught fire. It was like maybe like, I feel like it was maybe at least 2 meters between the garage door and the bus. And the bus managed to take fire after a while from the garage fire, which I found to be fucking insane. Like, how could that happen? I don't know how it happened. But anyway, so the bus took fire. There was scuba tanks in the garage. There were scuba tanks in the bus. There were gasoline in the garage. And definitely gasoline tank on the bus, right? So there was a lot of explosive stuff, in the area. So I called my mom or whatever, or my stepdad, I don't remember, but they pulled up pretty quickly, and I was just like coming up there, watching the house watching the house on fire, crying. And whilst this was happening, I was on rollerblades. I was just like around the neighborhood, just like rolling around the neighborhood, crying, asking for help on rollerblades while our house was on fire. And the whole fucking neighborhood, plus probably a lot of people more, came and watched it. It was like almost like a concert, like a fucking Ultra Festival Miami, just like Ultra Music Festival Miami, just like packed with people, just like filming on their phones and stuff. And this was in 2006, I believe. So this was just as like camera phones started coming out, I think. And yeah, it was wild, man. The fire department came and they evacuated the whole place of like for like 300 meters. You had to keep a distance, and the whole neighborhood was just watching it from afar. Like our house was just in flames. The cool thing was though that it didn't fuck up the whole house. It didn't burn all the. It did fuck up the whole house, but that was mostly because of water damage from the firemen. So I was able to go into my bedroom and get my stuff after they had fucked it up with water. Like I could get stuff that wasn't like electronics and stuff like that. So, and our hamster, we had like a little miniature hamster, like a dwarf hamster. It actually survived. It was in the living room, and a fireman actually brought it home. And yeah, it was a wild time. Looking back, I remember from that. I feel like that day is like the day I lost my innocence, and it wasn't even like I just felt like a fucking idiot fuck up when that happened. And but you know, shit happens, and I'm glad I was a kid at the time and not like a fucking teenager or anything. I think I was not more than 12. I think I was 10 years old. Cause yeah, I was 10 years old because I'm born in '96 and it's 2006. So it was just after my 10th birthday. And this is the most freaky thing about that whole event, right? So 3 days prior to this happening, I had a dream that the house was on fire. How fucking freaky is that? Huh? Like what? So yeah, I think I'm psychic probably, but that's like one of the only psychic episodes I've had then. But yeah, I don't know. That was weird though. I remember it vividly because I was just standing there watching the whole house on fire, and I was like, "Fuck!" I just had this dream. And yeah, so after that, what happened was we would just keep chilling. Like we had to move out into the countryside for a little bit. We have to get a temporary home, and we were like a big family at the time because my stepdad had two kids as well. So we were 4 kids in the house. So it was like a little kindergarten, you know. And we were always doing shit, doing adventures, playing together, and having fun. And it was actually really fun times when I think back to it. We had like, it was never a boring moment. But yeah, at around that time, I think it was after that, I started really getting into music and techno music, especially. I remember having Hard Dance Mania CDs on my little. I had like this little boombox ghetto blaster thing, and I like Hard Dance Mania on CDs. And that was like my introduction to electronic music and DJing and stuff like that. And I think yeah, the Hard Dance Mania CDs, it came with a DVD as well, so you could actually see the people. It was the music videos, I think, but there was a lot of Tiesto music in there, and there was videos of Tiesto, like I don't know what he was doing. He was out in the desert with like this vinyl DJ. It was this vinyl DJ controller setup thing, and he was just DJing out in the desert, and there was like all these naked women dancing all around him, you know. And it was like, from that I remember vividly, I was like, fuck, I want to be a DJ. So that was probably one of the big things that inspired me to do electronic music, was that time, and when I started listening to Hard Dance Mania. And I remember like also in children's school, in elementary school, I suppose. I was always like bringing music cuz you know, in back in the days, this was probably around, yeah, around 2006, 2007 or something. I would bring, you know, cuz the only way to share music through phones was like the infrared or the Bluetooth. I remember first it was infrared, so I would download from my computer. I would like go on the Pirate Bay or like whatever it was to like steal music, you know, illegally, like a criminal, allegedly. I would steal music, download it to my phone, you know, and I was just like sharing the music through the infrared on people's phones. And I was always the one like gathering the techno music in school, and I was just like bringing all this techno music to school, and people that were just like fucking loving it. And I remember that was like pretty cool. I remember being like, I felt like I was like the guy who brought the music, you know. So that was the beginning. And then I remember for my 11th birthday, I got like this. No, it was my 10th. Was it my 10th birthday? I think it was my 11th birthday actually. I got like this motocross bike. It was like fucking wild, dude. It was like a Honda China copy, but it was like a real. It was a four-stroke engine, which means four cylinders, right? I'm not sure if it means four cylinders. It's probably one cylinder, right? But it's four strokes, so I don't. It's a different kind of. It's a different kind of way that the cylinders work and stuff like that. But anyway, it would just make a shit ton of noise. It was so fucking noisy, so loud, and it went like 80 kilometers an hour. I think it was like a killing machine. And my dad gave this shit to me when I was like 11. And I remember being like, I was thinking I was one of the coolest fucking guys on the block, you know. I was riding around with my fucking dirt bike, which had like, I think it was 120 horse, not horsepower, but cubic. You say cubic, right? And so yeah, that was pretty cool. And yeah, then when I started like growing up a little bit, I started dabbling a lot with marijuana, and that is where like my life took like a turn for the worst. I think when I started fucking around with marijuana, because after the secondary, I don't fucking know what you call it in English, but in from grade 8 to 10, there's a school in Norway. We call it just a youth school, teenager school, whatever. But that's where I started fucking around with marijuana. I got this friend who was like really preaching marijuana, and I was a really curious soul. And we were a lot. I remember I got a complete new set of friends when I got into that school. And I remember this guy, we were hanging out a lot, and he was just like preaching marijuana. And this guy was like, he was a lot taller than me at the time. He was probably like, I don't know how tall he is, but at the time it seemed like he was like as tall as I am now, like 180, when he was like 14 years old, and he already had like a beard, probably fucking lots of pubic hairs and chest hairs, and he was like a grown ass man when he was 14. It was weird, and he was Norwegian as well. Usually, it's the people from like Pakistan and stuff like that. They usually had like a little bit of beards and stuff like that when they were a little younger than us. But he was Norwegian, and he just fucking had that like he hit a full fucking beard at 14. It was so fucking weird. And he would go to Oslo by himself and stuff like that, and go get marijuana and fucking smoke that shit like a fucking Snoop Dogg. And he was just preaching this shit, saying it was like the coolest shit ever, and I was just like getting super into it. And he would talk me and all my buddies into actually doing it one day, and we all went out there. We went into a little fucking forest in Halden, and we fucking blazed this. I don't know if it was the green stuff or the brown stuff. I think it was the green stuff actually, the marijuana. We smoked it out of like a fucking bottle, dude. Like a little, like a nasty ass self-made bong out of a bottle, which was just like so fucking greasy in and of itself. I get just bad vibes from thinking about it. We were sitting there smoking out of this fucking bottle, just coughing our fucking lungs out. I don't even know if I felt it that much. Only thing I really felt was that I was getting like kind of nauseous. Didn't feel that good in my body, and kind of weird. So that happened. And that was actually on the Norwegian National Day, the 17th of May. So we were going to like a disco. And keep in mind, we were like 14 years at the time. Going to a disco, which is way too early, by the way. It was way too fucking early. I deeply regret doing it at that early age. I think it really fucking messed up my head. And so we went to this disco. And usually in the previous years, like I've always been really... I always thought disco was really fucking fun when I was a kid. I used to just go to those things and just like fucking rave out, just like dancing my ass off, just having the best time ever. I love those things, dancing with the girls and just having a good ass time. That time after smoking, I just didn't feel it at all. Me and my friends too, like we were just sitting there at the bench, looking at complete idiots, just like the most boring motherfuckers in the whole place. And we ended just going home, man. It was like the saddest story ever. It's just like, it was no fun at all. And that was my first experience with marijuana. And that was kind of like, that was a nice little warning sign that this shit is probably not for me, right? This is probably not the way to go here. And you would think that I would just not do it anymore. But I think like probably like a year or a few months later, I actually tried it again, and I just started smoking regularly with a friend of mine. And yeah, me and my friends, we would just start smoking weed, and that was all we did throughout my teens. We just smoked the weed. We drank a lot. We smoked. We did a lot of, not a lot of drugs. We did those two things mainly. And I remember I have this one friend who's like still fucking one of my best friends ever, who actually got me into producing music. And we would just smoke fucking every fucking single day, pretty much. We would just, after school, sometimes actually during the fucking break, like the lunch break, we would go out smoke under a fucking bridge, like fucking crack addict. And yeah, that shit was not good at all. It was like one of the most destructive things ever to my life, and it just killed so much fucking productivity. Like, there's so many hours and days that I just can't get back, that I was just like doing nothing because I've like zonked out of fucking weed and just like watching some stupid shit on the internet or whatever. And I think it really killed a lot of like drive and like a lot of, because what happens is this weird kind of thing that happens when you smoke, that you like, yeah, you get kind of into like a more like zen state. You get kind of more like, I don't know how I would describe it, but I would kind of see things from a different perspective. And I would like, if I was producing a track, and that kind of happened simultaneously, by the way. That when I started smoking weed, my friend, he started producing a little bit of music at the time, and that actually got me into producing music as well. And he was really good at piano and stuff like that, so he would play a lot of piano, and I got really inspired by him to start producing. So that's when I downloaded FL Studio. And we both started producing like idiots together. We were just like producing all the time, DJing. We had this little fucking DJ controller. We started like DJing. went to each other's houses and just produced and DJ'd. And we had a lot of fun with that. But we'd smoke a lot, and I think that was not the best idea. But it is what it is. We're here today, and in the end, it's the choices you made that ended up that lands you where you are right now. And I don't know what would have happened if I didn't smoke weed. Maybe I wouldn't have pursued music at all. I don't fucking know. So I just gotta be grateful for what I have. But I think definitely that the marijuana consumption definitely decreased and fucked up a lot of brain cells. And it made me really like introverted, because I remember I was very, very extroverted when I was a kid. I was super like into just like being silly, being out there, being weird. And when I started smoking, I got kind of into this introverted, weird state where all I wanted to do was just like hang out in my room, make my music, fucking smoke weed, masturbate to porn, and just like be a fucking zombie, a zoinked out fucking zombie in my room. It wasn't good, man. It was not good. And that was like kind of what I spent my teenage years doing, my like developing, my brain developing years, which is like getting zoinked out. And yeah, so you can imagine I had a fucking tough time getting out of that in my 20s, when I had when real life hit my fucking face like a wall of bricks, and I had to go work to earn my money to be able to live and survive. It was a tough fucking time. But yeah, luckily I've been, I had pretty strict parents. I have pretty, like, my parents would never do stuff like smoking marijuana or anything like that. I don't think my mom has even touched a cigarette in her life. And so I've been very lucky to have such, well grounded, sensible parents. So, I kind of had it in my DNA, had it in my upbringing to do good, And I was always really good in school. Like, I would always get good grades and stuff like that. I was actually a really fucking smart kid. It was just that I didn't want to. Like, I just thought it was so fucking boring. I just get so bored fucking easily, And so I didn't want to do the work, even though I knew I could. My parents knew I could, but it was just like, it was weird. And I really loved sleeping a lot in the mornings. I didn't really want to get up, do anything. I got really lazy during my teenager years. So it ended up actually costing me my first job. I got fired for not meeting up. I was really deep down in the trenches of depression. I in my early 20s, I was just like so deep down in the fucking most like depressing shit you can imagine, like just like existential despair. There was definitely the time where I was suicidal and, thinking about doing it for real, but I never had the guts, I think, and I never really, I don't think, when I look at it, I don't think I ever really considered it seriously. I just like liked to play with the idea a lot. And, but yeah, I never really lost all hope of life. I just kind of like, I didn't really see a way for me to make it good once I had gotten that far down into my depression. But the thing was, there was always like a lingering hope in the background of me actually being able to pull shit off. And because I know I have capabilities of doing fucking amazing stuff, but it's just, sometimes it just seems so far off. And when you try to look at the whole image, the whole way of getting there, it just seems like so far, And so I think that was the most difficult part for me, was like, because I had to make a living. I had to be I went for being an electrician. So I did electrician school, and I was doing the electrician apprenticeship, and that's where I got fired. And so after that, I actually went to like this high school. There's a high school that you can go to in Norway, which is like a paid. It's like a free. It's not free, but you we call it Folkehøy school, and it's like it means folk school or folk high school. It's a weird concept, but you pay for it, and it's a private school. They get like funds from the government, I think, but they're mostly private establishments, and they specialize in just having fun. They have like classes, which are, for example, one class of the school I was on was like travel Bali, which is like you just go around, you dig around, you travel to Bali, and you just like go snowboarding, go surfing, go do whatever. And so I did Folkehøy school, but I actually went there was I chose this particular school because they had like a producer class. So I took the producer class, and we went to New York. We went to Oslo, and we did like so many cool things throughout the year. And I met so many cool fucking people. And if you watch the podcast right now, fucking shout out. You know who you are. And got so many good friends that are doing the same thing, that are like-minded peeps. And I just had such a fucking blast that year, and I think I really, really needed that, and I'm so glad I actually did that, even though it cost a lot of money to do, and I'm still in debt because of that. I'm so fucking thankful, because it just gave me so much in terms of like socializing, getting back out there. I started working out. I started really taking my life seriously again, and I got that little spark of like, hey, I can fucking do this. It's possible for me, I had a lot of friends there. I got really like, I got socialized, and yeah, it was like a really good way to bring myself out of the trenches of just depression and like sheer existential dread. And so that was a really good experience for me. Once I got back from that, I started working retail store and factory, cable factory, the same place my dad works, which was really good pay, but it's not really a place you want to be. It's easy to get stuck there, in my opinion. So I thought that was a bit scary. Luckily, I got replaced by a robot, so I didn't get stuck there. And then I kind of coasted. I just coasted for a year on government money. That was really interesting. I actually made an album during that year. I got some time to do some music, and I made an album on my prior artist alias, which is called Bear City. So I made a lot of music on that artist, under that artist name, and yeah, I did a lot of cool shit during that year. I made a lot of music. I went to the Lofoten Islands straight after getting fired from Nexans, that job. I went to the Lofoten Islands with my buddy who got institutionalized for like he got into the mental hospital actually, because he fucked up his brain on some fucking drug in Oslo, and it never was the same again. And this podcast has lasted for a freaking hour now. Amazing how time flies. But so he got institutionalized after taking some weird drug in Oslo, and it was never the same again. I took him because he was one of my best friends. We previously, when I was 19, when I was working still for that first job that I got fired for, in the summer break, we actually took a trip to Spain together in my car. We took a road trip to Spain from Norway. So, we were pretty good friends. Yeah, he was just never the same again. So that was kind of sad. But I took him to the Lofoten Islands. He's actually the one who took me out surfing for the first time in here in Norway, except for up in Lofoten with my dad. But he was the one that he was the guy in the boat that I was talking about who fell out of the fucking boat. And so yeah, he got fucked up. He went kind of nuts, and now he's kind of just like in apathy. I think he just plays video games in his bedroom all day. I haven't really heard from him in a long time. And if you watch this podcast, fucking hit me up, dude. Whatever you're doing, say hi. But yeah, so we went to the Lofoten Islands. I took him surfing here in the Lofoten Islands, and we had like a good month here where I actually got to practice surfing. And that's where I started like really like, fuck, I gotta get out of this little town that I'm living in. I gotta get out to somewhere there's good surf and some beautiful views and stuff like that. So I got home again. I started climbing a little bit with my buddies. We started getting into climbing a little bit. Then I went to like Portugal surfing with another buddy, and then I went back to the Lofoten Islands again for another month. Did some of that, and yeah. But I've been talking for fucking ages now. It's already an hour. I think I'm gonna cap it here. We can do the rest of my life in the next one, and probably some other interesting things too. Let's end it on some musicalities. Let's see what we got here now. I want to get more into trying to do this with some music and stuff as well, but let's bring up the piano right now. This is a song I've been practicing lately. It's called Long Drive by Skrillex, and there's this guy called Evan Duffy. Shout out to that guy. Gotta check that guy out if you're into this kind of thing. But he made a piano cover on Skrillex's song Long Drive, and that's the one I've been practicing lately. So I'm gonna try and play it a little bit while we cap this up. Oh yeah. I'm playing so bad right now, Jesus Christ. Thank you guys for watching the podcast. It's been a blast. It's so hard to talk while doing this song, god damn it. But anyways, guys, it's been such a fucking blast. The Ripple Effect first podcast out. Fuck yeah, we did it. I'm so excited for this, and I can't wait for the next episode. And thank you guys for checking it out and being a part of this thing. And you know, let's crush 2023 together, guys. Let's just fucking spread that goodness, spread that love, and spread the good vibes, and do what we do, and keep going, and give it our all, and do what's right. Alright, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.